Good morning, Rose Red Homestead, and welcome to today's video where we are going to answer the question, why can beans? And the answer to that goes directly to self-reliance, food security, and emergency preparedness, all three things that we focus on. You may really have wondered why go to the bother of even canning beans when you can just buy them in the grocery store and they're not all that expensive. Well, if you really do the math on it, they are probably about 6 times more expensive than doing your own, which is why I do them. Another reason is because with canned beans, the recommendation is for you to drain those beans and a lot of times even rinse those beans because it gets rid of about 60% of the sodium. With home canned beans, you have total control over the broth that you can the beans in. And if you choose to put salt in, it's your choice. If you choose not to, then that's your choice. And I don't ever, generally, I do not ever season beans prior to canning, although you can. You can add spices if you wish. You could add chopped onions if you wish with no problem at all. Never any bacon. But you could also put in herbs if you wish. The reason that I choose not to do that is because I want to preserve the versatility of the beans. I want to be able to season them in whatever recipe I'm going to be using after I open them up. The other thing is that canned beans often taste a little bit tinny, and with your own home canned beans, that taste goes completely away. We are going to can them today according to the USDA guidelines that are supported across the board by all the extension offices and anyone else who is a safe canner. No other way of canning beans ensures the safety of the end product. So last night I put 4 pounds of kidney beans to soak overnight, and here they are. Now that's an awful lot of kidney beans. I'm going to be canning in pints, and I expect I will get at least, well, maybe, I'm shooting for about a dozen pints. So why would I can in pints instead of quarts? Well, I do both. I like to think ahead about what I might be using, whatever it is I'm canning, whatever I might be using that for in the future, and then plan accordingly. Sometimes I need a whole quart for the things that I use beans for. Other times I need a pint. With kidney beans, it is usually I need either 1 cup or 2 cups of the cooked beans. Cooked meaning coming out of the jar already canned because they're cooked and ready to go. So that's why I'm canning in pints today. So according to the USDA, you can do the pre-preparation in one of 2 ways. You can either soak overnight the way I did, or on the day of your canning, you can sort through and rinse the beans, which is standard procedure, and then you can put them on the stove with plenty of water and bring them to a boil and boil for about 2 minutes. Then turn the heat off, put the lid on, and let them soak for an hour. And that brings them to about the same condition that these beans are right here that have soaked overnight. From there, the procedure is identical regardless of how you have pre-done your beans. So the first thing you do is drain the soaking water. Now, why would you drain the soaking water? Why can't I just put this on the stove? Because we have to now pre-cook them for 30 minutes. Well, because there's starch that has been leached out of the beans in here. There are also other compounds that are deleterious to our digestive systems that have come out of the beans. I don't want my beans cooking in that water. So the USDA says, and all other experts say, to go ahead and discard the soaking water. Then I'm just going to rinse them. And bring them back to this pot. And here they are. Now I am going to cover them with fresh water, put them on the stove, and pre-cook them for 30 minutes. So I want to talk to you about why we do that. When we can beans, we want to be sure that we start off with beans being as hydrated as possible. We don't want them soaking up all of the water out of the inside of the jar, which would affect heat transfer and the ability for the beans to get up into the kill zone. And so we soak them to partially hydrate them, and then we pre-cook for 30 minutes. They're nowhere near done at the end of 30 minutes. And so for that reason, that's why we do these steps. I generally choose to soak them overnight because it does not use any energy doing that. And it takes just a few minutes to sort through the beans and put water on them. It's just planning ahead. Sometimes I realize too late that I want to do some beans, and I'll do it the quick way as well. And either way works just fine. So these are going to go up on the stove and simmer for 30 minutes. And when we come back, the jars are in the dishwasher. They'll be done by then and hot, which is the way we want. The canner will be prepared, and we will be ready to put them in the jars. So we will see you at that point. The beans just finished their 30-minute pre-cooking. I'll slide these up so you can take a look. So they're not cooked all the way. These obviously are pink kidney beans rather than the deep red ones. All right, the jars I just barely took out of the dishwasher. They're still hot. So let's get filling. I'm going to fill with beans first, draining the liquid. And we'll put liquid in later. Okay, looks like we have 14 or 15, I lost track. So the next thing now is to bring them back and put the broth over the top of them. And I use the cooking liquid. You can either use the cooking liquid or you can use the fresh boiling water, whatever you prefer. So we're going to do that right now. Leaving 1 inch headspace. Okay, we have 16 pints, and we have just a little bit of broth and a few beans, so we came out just about even. Next is checking for air bubbles, wiping the rims, and getting the lids and bands in place. So here we go. So one of my lids is dented in that edge. So I am throwing this one out and replacing it. That happens sometimes. Done. Okay, the canner is simmering and ready. So let's head out and get these loaded in the canner. It is 36 degrees outside right now, and so there's no breeze whatsoever. We will be able to, provided there's no breeze, when we're ready to take these out, we'll be able to just set them outside here for a half an hour for them to cool down when they're done. Right now I have 8 in the bottom, as you can see. There's about 2 to 3 inches of water just simmering in the bottom. I'm going to put the second rack in, and I can hold these by the rings and they're not that hot. So I'm just going to load them into place. So we have a full canner of 16 pints. So we will vent steam out of this vent port for 10 minutes. Once it really starts to have a good head of steam, then we will put the weight on, wait till it gets up to 13, holding it between 13 and 15 psi for 75 minutes. And we will come back when we're ready to take them out of the canner. So we'll see you then. It's now 38 degrees out here. There really is virtually no breeze. So we'll be able to leave these outside I'll leave them out here for about an hour until they have their first initial cool down, and probably all of them that are going to pop will pop, and we're hoping it will be 100%. The canner finished about 10 minutes ago, so we're ready to go ahead and bring them out. Just double checking. Yep, no pressure left. Oh, and there we have it. They look beautiful. Bringing them over here. It looks like there are some drips down the side of the jars, so we may have had a little siphoning. All right, we have 16 pints of these beautiful kidney beans, so I'm very, very thrilled with that. And then to review, why canned beans? Well, because number one, it is far less expensive to can your own than to buy them in the cans already. Number two, it is so convenient to be able to have these ready to go on the shelf at a moment's notice. Oh, there went one. Whether you want to do a salad or any other kind of recipe, we've got it. And then the third reason is because they're more nutritious. With canned beans, you have to drain them and rinse them off before you use them. And with these, you can use the broth that is in there and just dump the whole thing right in soups or stews or whatever it is that you are doing. So those are the main reasons why we think it is just a great idea to can beans. Beans, all kinds of beans, a whole variety of beans. So thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you at our next video.